Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here on time. I appreciate the 8 of you who are here on time. That's good. We're going to have hopefully a lot more people trickle in over the next 10 minutes or so. But I don't want to spend any time waiting for folks. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the lesson and let you all get started with your warm up. Today, we're going to talk about science root words, so how to interpret science vocabulary. Today is, of course, January 8th, 2021. And we're also going to take some time to do a diagnostic exam. I'll explain more about that a little bit later in the lesson, but it's nothing to stress about, nothing to worry about. I just want to give you all a quick preview of what we're doing today. So, that being said, today is Unit 0, Day 4. So, I want you all to take the next 6 minutes to knock out the warm up. So, if you go into Canvas, of course, you'll go into our Unit 0 module, and then you'll scroll down to find the Unit 0, Day 4 warm up. 6 minutes should be enough time to complete it. It's about what we discussed yesterday regarding the scientific method. All right, so just a brief recap of stuff that you all hopefully just answered in your warm up. And this is something we talked about yesterday at a pretty great length. So I won't say too much about it, but obviously the scientific method is a planned, organized approach to solving a problem. Hopefully at this point in class, you already have your notebook out and you can look back at the notes that you took yesterday and you remember this definition because you wrote it down. We also talked about how many different approaches there are in employing or using the scientific method. It's not just scientists, it's not just biologists, it's not just chemists who have to use the scientific method. People from any number of occupations, people who have any number of different jobs, often have to use the scientific method because really all it is a systematic, methodical way of problem solving. Okay, so I like this image on the right side because it walks you through each of the different steps, and you all were asked, I believe, 4 questions in your warm-up about these steps. Yes, we're going to take some quick notes today, Kathy, but very, very few. But I would encourage you to have your notebook out. So obviously, the first step is to ask a question or to come up with some type of problem. You have to identify what the problem is. You do research. Now, something I didn't talk about yesterday is that we've got some feedback taking place here. We've got some arrows that actually lead backwards in the process. And that's not to say that you undo the work that you've done, or that's not to say that once you get to a certain point in the process that the work that you've done is no longer meaningful. It's just that sometimes you might discover new information that requires you to go back and do more research, or it requires you to go back and tinker with your hypothesis because now you know something new that changes the way that you think, or it changes your prediction about what might happen or about the relationships that exist. So you'll always have this feedback process where you need to go back and make some necessary changes. I just wanted to point that out to you all. Hopefully you had ample time to knock out that warm up. As I said, we will always come in and I'm going to try to assign the warm up to you all within those first 2 minutes, and we'll have 6 minutes to get it done. So the objective today, would anyone like to read it? Remember, this acronym stands for Students Will Be Able To.
I guess I'll read it.
Thank you, Brianna.
Students will be able to demonstrate their current level of biology content knowledge by completing the diagnostic exam.
Thank you. We're going to take a diagnostic exam, and then would anyone else like to read the essential question? I know Brianna has made her voice very well known in class so far. Would anyone else like to read this? I still haven't heard some of you speak, a good number of you.
I'll read it.
Thank you, Abraham.
Today's essential question: what is my starting level of knowledge, and how much room to grow do I have in biology?
Good, thank you so much. So when you take this diagnostic, I don't want you all to be discouraged by your scores. I don't expect that you all will do quote unquote well. This is going to be a test of things that you just simply haven't been introduced to yet. We just kind of want to see what your baseline is. What do you know? There might be some information that you learned in your middle school science classes or even last year in earth and environmental science that can be applied to this test, but for the most part, it's going to be new stuff. So it's not to make you feel bad. It's just to help you identify, okay, if I come in and I get a 20 on this diagnostic, 20%, that means I have all of this room to grow by the end of this semester. Okay, so remember, the goal is the growth. The goal is to identify that we aren't where we want to be yet. That doesn't mean we won't ever get there. Before we get into this diagnostic, we're going to have a really quick lesson about science vocabulary. So in biology and in most of your science classes, you are introduced to new languages of sorts. You're introduced to terms that are derived from other languages like Latin and Greek. And you're also introduced to these large words that have many different prefixes and suffixes, and they use what we call root words. Okay, so It's important that you all understand it's not good to be discouraged when you see these big words. It's not good to simply give up and accept that you just don't know it and not make any attempt to figure out what it means. What you should do is try to break it down. There might be parts of the word that you know, and then if you can try to combine those parts, then you might have a better understanding of the entire word as a whole. So what we want to do is break the words down, excuse me, and make them make sense. For example, we've got prefixes and suffixes, and I know you guys know what those words mean from your English classes. But a prefix is just a word, letter, or number that's placed before another one. So an example, we've got 3 examples down there. The first says epi. Epi is a good example of a prefix. Epi means upon. So for example, we've got an epidemic, which means a sickness that's placed upon the people. Okay, so an epidemic is something that is infecting a large group of people, not just any one particular population of people, but a huge group of people. Then we've also got a prefix derma. Derma is a prefix that means skin. So you might have heard of the word dermatology or a dermatologist. Dermatology means study of the skin. And of course, here we've got another important root word that we talked about a couple of days ago. We've got this O-L-O-G-Y. Ology, that means the study of something. So when we combine the two, derma and ology, we've got study of the skin. Then neuro means, of course, brain. So I'm sure you've heard words that have neuro affixed at the front of them. But neurotoxic is a word that uses that prefix, and it means a poison that acts on the brain. And then we've got suffixes. So suffixes go at the end of words. Okay, so they're a morpheme that is added to the end of the word to create some type of derivative. So CYTE, site. This is a big one that you will see come up in this class. CYTE means cell. You do not necessarily need to write down these examples. I would encourage you to just write down the definition of prefix and suffix. We're going to talk about a resource that we've placed on Canvas for you all to use that I think you can come back to. Typically, if we were in person, we would hand this out to you all with a physical copy, and you'd have access to it in your binders for the entire semester. But it is made available to you virtually. The cool thing about it is that what I'm referring to is it's a sheet of prefixes and suffixes. And so if you run into a word that you're not familiar with, you can check this list of prefixes and suffixes and start to break the word down. And we're going to ask you all to do that as a part of one of your asynchronous activities next week, but we'll get to there. We'll get to that. The next example is ZOA, Z-O-A. This actually looks like the word zoo because they really mean the same thing. They mean animal. So an example is protozoa. The protozoan age, or a protozoa, it means first animal. So the protozoan age is when the first animals became existent on our planet. And then lastly, scopy, S-C-O-P-Y. That means sight, or to have the ability to see something, as in an endoscopy. This means an internal view of the body. So any of you who are interested in medicine, you think you may want to become doctors or nurses or lab technicians or image specialists, then you'd probably will involve yourselves in some way in endoscopy. You'll have to get some internal images of your patients. This can be done by inserting a small camera, one of 2 ways. It can only go in through the front or through the back. But we typically have the technology to kind of stake those cameras all the way through your or through a patient's gastrointestinal system. So into your mouth and down the esophagus, through the stomach in some cases. And if you go through the other end, then you can get a pretty good image of a person's colons, and in some cases, their small intestines as well. So endoscopy is a pretty cool scientific advancement because it has allowed us to view things inside the human body without actually having to cut anyone open. All right. So again, when we think about breaking these words down, it's really cool that we know what these prefixes and suffixes mean. That way, you can unstick yourself. I want you all to become more independent learners this semester. And so, when you run into something that you don't know, the goal is not simply to ask someone else to explain it to you. The goal is to have the skills to go out and figure it out for yourself. Okay. So we'll get there. We're going to become better and more independent learners um, with activities like this one. So what I want you all to do next, hopefully everyone is still on Canvas, and I see we've got a couple people who've joined us a little late. That's no big deal, but please make sure that you are on Canvas. The next thing I want to do is go into our Unit 0 module. Scroll down to Unit 0, Day 5. So I know today is technically Day 4. But the activity that we're about to do is located under Day 5. It's called Synchronous Prefixes and Suffixes Padlet. It should take you to a page on our Canvas course that looks like this. And also, if the page doesn't work, then there's a link there that you can click that'll take you to the Padlet website. Okay, so we're in Canvas, we're in our Unit 0 module, we're scrolling down to Unit 0, Day 5, and we're clicking on Synchronous Prefix and Suffixes Padlet. Once you're there, you should be able to type directly into this Padlet by clicking on the plus signs in each column. And what I want you all to do is take a look at this list of prefixes and suffixes that I've included. And I've also included an example of my use of each of them. So if you look in the first column says bicycle, and I'm going to share my tab with you, my Canvas page. This first column says BI is the prefix. And I gave the example of bicycle. What you'll notice is that in all of the columns, there's something that's highlighted in green, and it's also written in bold. That's the meaning of that root word. Oops, I'm sorry. So for example, I've highlighted green and written in bold the word to in this first column. That's because the prefix bi means two. So a bicycle is a vehicle composed of two wheels. What I want you all to do is try to add over the next 3 minutes, try to add as many words that you can think of with these prefixes and suffixes. Okay, so if you've ever seen ology, I'm sure there are a whole lot of ologies that you all are aware of. Try to add some ologies under here and tell me what that word means, just like I've written here. Okay, so let's take 3 minutes. Let's take 3 minutes to get as many words added here as possible. I see someone is now typing in an ology, but we've got a whole list of prefixes and suffixes. We've got itis, we've got enter. I'm sure you guys have heard of that one. We've got ex. Gloria, thank you for joining us. Okay, so we've got some good words coming in. Keep in mind, you can also type what that word means. You can type under it what that word means, you know. Good, we've got some good ologies. Good, photosynthesis is a big word. Biodiversity, excellent. Yeah. Homophobic, heterosexual, good. Those are words that, of course, are pretty popular. We have to understand what those words mean. Transgender, good. So there are some social words. They're not always scientific. Arthritis, good. So of course, this suffix itis, I-T-I-S, that means inflammation. So almost anything on your body can become inflamed. So there are so many different itises. So I want to push you guys to think of some more. Got neurology, psychology, bipolar. Good. Excellent. That's a great example of that by prefix. Let's take about one more minute to get some more added. I know some of you all are just now joining the call, or you might be a little sluggish. It's Friday, I get it, but let's try to stay engaged and get some words added to this list. Anonym, good. That's a good one. Oh, no. Photoshop. Good. Homozygous, that's a great word. One that we'll talk about later in this course. Interpret, that's a good one. Internship, excellent. Yeah. Microbiology, macroscopic, these are excellent. Okay. So there is an assignment that I will give you all on Monday. We switched things around a little bit in order for you all to knock this diagnostic out on Friday so that you wouldn't have to do it on a Monday. I know that people typically don't enjoy taking tests on Mondays. I know I didn't when I was in school. So we wanted to get this diagnostic out of the way on a Friday for you all. So we're going to do that prefix and suffix activity on Monday. Today we'll do this diagnostic, and I'll talk about one other assignment. Before I do that, though, I want to share this tab with you all. So a student of mine in my honors class, which is my third block, reminded me yesterday that I hadn't talked too much about our YouTube playlist. So whenever you're absent, you're more than welcome to go back and watch the recording from that day's lesson. I put all of the recordings up on YouTube. So of course, so far we've only had 3 days. This is our 4th day. It typically takes me, about a couple hours after class in order to get this up. So by the end of the school day, every day, you should be able to go in and see the recorded lesson. All right. So sometimes sometimes you'll just need to see a short portion of the recorded lesson. Sometimes you might want to see the whole thing. So I want to share this with you all, and I'm going to give you the link to access this. I just sent it to the chat. The cool thing about it is that you can kind of go in and pause it and rewind. And if I'm ever moving a little bit too fast in class, you can move through at your own pace, as well as if you want to try to translate it into another language. As we go on, I will try to translate some things for you all, but YouTube provides an opportunity to do that as well. So I just wanted to mention that. And now we will come back to the slides. We've got about 45 minutes left in class. So yeah, so there's I need to edit this slide really. Let me go into Canvas. So here's what we're looking at right now. You should have essentially everything from the top of our Unit 0 module until the end of Unit 0 Day 4 done. Okay. Of course, everything is due Monday for full credit, and you're going to see your grade book start to change this weekend as I go in and I grade things on Canvas, and then I transfer them to PowerSchool. So I want to give you guys an idea of where you currently stand and what you still need to get done. But I want you all to stay organized. So Canvas has a lot of different ways of creating a to-do list for yourself. So, you should hopefully get your parent or guardian to sign this contact form. Most of you have already done your Google folder and you've done your virtual lockers too. I know yesterday we had some of the probably the two longest assignments of Unit 0. So maybe you still need to finish these over the weekend, and that's fine, but make sure you're staying on top of your work. And actually, you can probably do this assignment as well. I probably should have switched them around. You know what? Let me do this. Get a little more organized here for you guys. Okay, so I'm sure my PowerSchool don't want to page. Yes, when I update them, I can send it to you personally, but Canvas will also give you a good idea. It won't be exactly what your grade is because some things on Canvas, like the warm-ups on Canvas, are not going to be worth as many points as they will be, or the warm-ups will not be worth as many points on PowerSchool as they are on Canvas. So your grade won't be exactly what it is, but Canvas will give you a good idea. But I can send it to you personally too. What was I doing just now? Unit 0, day 1. Okay. Okay, so again, the warm-ups and exit tickets are slightly less important for this unit because we're really just getting you guys in the habit of doing these warm-ups and exit tickets and knowing that we will have them every day. But what I want you all to focus on are the asynchronous assignments, and that's going to be the case for the entirety of this semester. The asynchronous assignments will always be in this format: U blank, D blank. The U corresponds to unit, and then the D corresponds to the day of the unit. So all of your asynchronous assignments will start off with that same notation: U blank, D blank. I want you all to always focus on those. So if you need to take a picture of this slide, that might be a good idea. Oh, I'm not even showing it. If you need to take a picture of this slide, that might be a good idea. I do want to make sure that you guys get these assignments done. Remember, we switched things around a little bit. So even though today is day 4, I do want you to make sure you do this day 5 assignment, and then we'll come back and we'll do the day 4 assignment a little bit later on. Okay. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into the diagnostic. So you can access the diagnostic by going to NC Ed Cloud, like you would normally get to PowerSchool or get to Canvas. And instead of clicking on one of those icons, you'll click on the red schoolhouse, the SchoolNet icon. I'm sure you all have done this before. There should be a take a test option when you get to SchoolNet. And hopefully this will be one of your options, or you'll be able to enter this test code OPBIODIAG. I can send that to the chat. Someone is also messaging. And that's how we will take our diagnostic. It is 40 questions long. Again, I will give you 10 formal points simply for completing this diagnostic exam. You do not need to stress out about it. Just do your best and answer as many questions as you know. I typically do ask that you all turn your cameras on when we're taking exams, but this one is, of course, not a this is not a summative assessment. This is just a diagnostic, so I'll be lenient and you don't need to turn your cameras on. But please do make sure that you are taking this test. We've got 40 minutes left in class. That should be enough time to complete the test, the exam. Let me know. Sometimes SchoolNet, of course, gives us problems.
Mr. Rudd,
Yes.
I can't really take the test And pressing, I put in the code right now, and then I press both. This is like my third time doing it, and it's like not loading in.
Okay, dude.
It like shows the loading icon, and after a while, it pops out the test. And every time I click start test, it doesn't show up at all.
Okay, give me 1 second. SchoolNet is being a bit slow right now.
It loaded now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for being patient.
Mhm.
So if that's happening to you as well, I would just ask you to just be patient and keep refreshing. I'm also struggling with SchoolNet myself right now, so I'm gonna try to go in through another way, and if I can find a way in, then I'll let you know. If you're still unable to get into SchoolNet, then another way that it could work is by logging out of your Chromebook and going in through the Secure Tester app. We only have about 30 minutes left in class. So if you do choose to do that and it works for you, then that's great. And if it's already working for you, then that's great. But mine is not even loading right now. So I'm sorry if I can't really provide much more help, but we'll figure it out. If it doesn't work today, then we'll figure it out another time. Okay, folks, so it is now 11:35. Jason, I'm sorry, I didn't see your message until just now. But this weekend, please make sure that you are staying on top of your work if you have any. If not, then absolutely have a relaxing weekend, and I look forward to talking to you all on Monday.